Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Leela Maharaji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Linda Mataji.
Yes.
I got your message. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Good. Oh. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get the book. I'm making room in my bookcase as we speak. I'm like, okay, 18 new books I got. Oh my gosh. I only have one.
There is a Prabhu, his name is Daniel, and he does service at the temple. So he sponsored Srimad Bhagavatam set. So if you feel inspired, like maybe you can send him a card or something, and we can give it to him, so he knows that you received the book on his behalf.
Oh, who is this? Did you say Daniel?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Daniel. Let me think.
Should I text you his name?
Yes. Yes. One minute. 1 minute. Oh. Oh yeah. Just text me. Yeah.
Sure, Didi. I did just now.
Oh, okay. How was Niranjana's seminar or appearance of Niranjana?
I met him for the first time. I saw him for the first time, but I used to really like his kirtans because my spiritual master, I heard from someone that my spiritual master likes his kirtans very much. So
yes.
I used to go on YouTube and listen to his kirtan sometimes. And once I even heard his Bhagavad Gita lecture because we were preparing for some class and I heard his lecture and he was speaking and I think it was some European language. They were translating into a European language. So he would speak and someone will speak and translate it and then again he will speak but after hearing the lecture I felt like the message was so crisp and clear. So I really liked his lectures. Yesterday's lecture was all about what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, text 55.
Wait, what did you say? Chapter 11?
Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, text 55.
Text 55. I will surely read that tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if you have access to the internet, you can go on the internet and his class was broadcast on YouTube.
On YouTube, okay.
Yeah, I think I sent you the link yesterday night. Yeah, I did.
Yes, you did.
Yes. Yeah, if you go back, like the whole kirtan and the lectures are there on YouTube, and you can listen to his whole lecture. And the temple president gave a very nice introduction of Maharaj. So she was telling that he received the Bhagavad Gita in a bookstore, and it wasn't supposed to be part of the bookstore. But one devotee, he sneaked the book into the bookstore. Like he would go and just put Bhagavad Gitas in random places. So that's how Niranjan Maharaj ended up receiving Bhagavad Gita as it is. He purchased it in the bookstore. And then Maharaj was saying that many people ask me how did I meet Srila Prabhupada, and then I always tell them, or when did I meet Srila Prabhupada? Then I say I met him in the bookstore in 1972 because
wow. Hare Krishna, this is Govardhan Leela and Shanti Mataji. Yes, we're just listening. Wasn't that so cute yesterday? What a very nice lecture by Niranjan Swami.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Govardhan Leela Mataji, you want to add something about what he said?
Oh, I don't know the whole. Did you just talk about the introduction? Because I just got on now, so I don't know exactly what you were talking about. I know you were talking about Himangi Mataji's beautiful introduction to Niranjan Swami.
Mm-hmm. So
is that
what every time someone asked him where he met Srila Prabhupada, he would say, I met him in 1972. in the bookstore, and people would wonder, like, really, did you meet Prabhupada in the bookstore? And he would say, yes, he was on the shelf. He was sitting on the shelf.
He was sitting on the shelf, and I was even imagining, at first, I wasn't thinking, and I thought, oh, he was sitting inside the shelf. Oh, he was in a yoga posture. And I'm thinking, no, he was in the book. It was cute. It was very cute. And I was just, some other things that, he was talking about, and that, one of the things we should aspire for is pure devotional service. That was, the big thing. I kept hearing that over and over again. Even if we feel we can't get there in this lifetime, or we're not qualified, and then he was referring to the great souls who are so qualified, and they felt that they were totally unqualified. Okay, so actually the mood is that you're humble and you don't feel that it's like you're going along in your devotional service and you think, I'm just so unqualified, and yet sometimes these really advanced souls were so qualified. So I don't know, I kind of repeated myself there, just that I think that, he was talking about some of the things also that hinder our devotional service or block it, talking about the gossiping about people. That was one thing. There were other things I'm trying to remember. It wasn't just gossiping, that we should be praising the other devotees, okay? Always, instead of saying what's in it for me, what's in it for them. When you begin to advance in devotional service, that's what starts to happen. It's that your desire is not to please yourself, but it's to please the other devotees. And he went on about that. It was very, very nice. For the moment, that's what I'm thinking, what was coming to my mind.
Okay, so should
Welcome, Mataji.
Yeah, so should we start with the prayers?
Yes, Mataji.
Oh, I just want to let you know that I'm sorry for interrupting, but I want you to know that I have to get off early today, okay? So please don't be angry with me. I have somewhere to go, and I have to leave at about 5:45. Okay?
Yeah, that's fine, Mataji.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Jilamanji Mataji would like to say the prayers with me.
Yes, Mataji. Om Ajnana Samakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Namaha Shri Chaitanya Stapita Bhutale Swayam Rupa Samayam Sadati Sadapantikam Vancha Kalpatarudhyasya Kripa Sindhya Pati Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Yasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nasta Prayashu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhavati Naishtiki.
Okay, so we are on chapter, on Canto 2, chapter 10, text 9. एकम एकतर तदा भावे यदा नोपलभमहे तृतीयं तत्र यो वेदा स आत्मा स्वाश्रयाच्य. All three of the above mentioned stages of different living entities are interdependent. In the absence of one, another is not understood. But the Supreme Being who sees every one of them as the shelter of the shelter is independent of all, and therefore he is the supreme shelter. There are innumerable living entities, one dependent on the other, in the relationship of the control and the control.
Your voice is very faint. So can you do something to
maybe
your phone closer to you?
Can you read? Yes, there is a lot of disturbance here, so maybe Linda Mataji, can you read and then your voice is a little bit louder, and then I can explain. So, Hare Krishna, Govardhan, Linda Mataji.
Are you talking to me, Mataji? You have to make the distinction because we have Linda Mataji and Govardhan Leela. I just want to make sure if you're referring
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that there's another.
Yeah, there's two of us on the line. Yes. Okay, Mataji, I can read the purport. Thank you.
So much. I appreciate it.
Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There are innumerable living entities, one dependent on the other in the relationship of the controlled and the controller. But without the medium of perception, no one can know or understand who is the controlled and who is the controller. For example, the sun controls the power of our vision. We can see the sun because the sun has its body, and the sunlight is useful only because we have eyes. Without our having eyes, the sunlight is useless, and without sunlight, the eyes are useless. Thus, they are interdependent, and none of them is independent. Therefore, the natural question arises concerning who made them interdependent. The one who has made such a relationship of interdependence must be ultimately completely independent. As stated in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the ultimate source of all interdependent objectives is the complete independent subject. This ultimate source of all interdependence is the Supreme Truth, or Paramatma, the Supersoul, who is not dependent on anything else. He is Svashraya. He is only dependent on his self, and thus he is the supreme shelter of everything. Although Paramatma and Brahman are subordinate to Bhagavan, because Bhagavan is Purushottama, or the super person, he is the source of the super soul also. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15.18, Lord Krishna says that he is the Purushottama and the source of everything, and thus it is concluded that Sri Krishna is the ultimate source and shelter of all entities, including the super soul and supreme Brahman. Even accepting that there is no difference between the super soul and the individual soul is dependent on the super soul for being liberated from the illusion of material energy. The individual is under the clutches of illusory energy, and therefore, although qualitatively one with the super soul, he is under the illusion of identifying himself with matter. And to get out of this illusory conception of factual life, the individual soul has to depend on the super soul to be recognized as one with him. In that sense, also, the supersoul is the supreme shelter, and there is no doubt about it. The individual living entity, the jiva, is always dependent on the supersoul, Paramatma, because the individual soul forgets his spiritual identity, whereas the supersoul, Paramatma, does not forget. Paramatma does not forget his transcendental position. In the Bhagavad Gita, these separate positions of the Jiva Atma and the Paramatma are specifically mentioned. In the 4th chapter, Arjuna, the Jiva soul, is represented as forgetful of his many, many previous births. But the Lord, the super soul, is not forgetful. The Lord even remembers when he taught the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god some billions of years before. The Lord can remember such millions and billions of years, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7.26 as follows. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjun bhavishyani chabutani mam tu veda nat kaschana. The Lord, in his eternal blissful body of knowledge, is fully aware of all that happened in the past, that which is going on at the present, and also what will happen in the future. But in spite of his being the shelter of both the Paramatma and Brahman, persons with a poor fund of knowledge are unable to understand him as he is. The propaganda of the identity of cosmic consciousness with the consciousness of the individual living entities is completely misleading, because even such a person or individual soul as Arjuna could not remember his past deeds, although he is always with the Lord. And what can the tiny ordinary man, falsely claiming to be one with the cosmic consciousness, know about his past, present, and future? Vandan Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Oh, sorry, I was speaking on mute. Yeah, I was trying to say thank you, Govardhan Leela Mataji, for recitation. It was really nice because I couldn't have done it so nicely. So thanks and clearly. So now I'll try to summarize it. I was speaking, but I was on mute like a minute ago. So now I'll try to summarize it. So in this verse, we are being carried forwarded from the other verse, which says that all three of the above mentioned stages of different living entities are interdependent. In the absence of one, another is not understood. But the Supreme Being who sees every one of them as a shelter of a shelter is independent of all, and therefore he is the supreme shelter. So first, like a little bit about the previous verse, where we were we were hearing about the three stages, or not the three stages really, but the three instruments, like the three I should say varieties of in a person. So that is adhyatmic, adhidevic, and adhibhautic. So like we discussed that what like a person who possesses different instruments of senses is called the adhyatmic person, because the senses are like adhyatmic in the sense, don't know the exact English for adhyatmic, but the individual and there are individual controlling deity of the senses, which is adhidevic, And the embodiment seen on the walls is called adibhotic or the physical. Adibhotic means physical, so how a person appears physically, and then how the senses are being controlled by different like airs, which we had read earlier, different airs and different prana forces and different deities control the different senses, and then those different senses.
I'm sorry, Mataji, I'm having trouble understanding you. I really am. Can you please speak?
Well, it is just referring to the previous verse that there are.
Mataji, I think the understanding is not what you are saying. The problem is with the volume. We cannot hear you properly. I have turned up my phone to full volume, but still I'm having problems hearing you.
Yeah, I don't know why the phone. Let me see if there is the volume button in call volume. Yes.
I can hear us.
You can continue. We will try our best.
No, there was a thing about increasing the in-call volume, but I can't seem to get to that. I can't seem to get to that screen where it lets you increase the in-call volume. Yeah,
Let's continue with you, Mataji. We will try our best to hear.
Okay, so now is it better? I've put it in my ears.
Yes, Mataji, it's better than before.
It sounds better. Yeah, better than before.
So here we are like referring to the previous verse where the above mentioned stages of different living entities, they are interdependent, like how we cannot see without, like how all the three things are needed for a person for the senses to actually work. Like the senses need to be working, then the senses work because of the spirit within us and the Paramatma within us. Then that is the Adhyatmic person, and then Adhidevik, and there are individual deities that control these, and then the physical aspect of it, that is the human or the physical gross material form of it. All three are needed for basically our human form to work. So similarly, we cannot separate them. They are all interdependent, and like the philosophy of interdependence is very, very deep, because it means that how one cannot really function without the other. How for instance, like something just came to my mind, that how like we are born through our parents, and then our parents need to bring us up to a level where we can function, because like in the lectures they say how the baby is totally dependent on the mother, and then the person grows up, and then they reach a point where they are more functional, and then their parents would be dependent on them for activities, because then their senses start decaying. And also, if we think of it in the religious aspect, how in the Indian culture, it was always thought that children are needed to even give them prayers when they pass away into the other world. And so it is, and then they are brought up, like they might come again in their family tree. So everything is interdependent. One cannot function without the other. And like I'd given an example once before about the hand and the mouth, that if the hand thinks that it is feeding the mouth, then the mouth can't feed itself because then there is no way it can gather the resources to cook and to gather the money or whatever to feed the mouth, and then the mouth thinks that I feed the hand. Then the mouth is mistaken because the mouth cannot really eat without the hands resources and the hands. So like I think you get the idea. So like everything is interdependent, and but like we think, like many times how I think also that how I owe everything to my parents or everything to this or that, but ultimately the supreme being sees every one of them as the shelter of the shelter, and he is independent of all, and therefore he is the supreme shelter. So like how it is written in our scriptures that he is the ultimate shelter, which we like. It is good to take care of our parents, remember them, but what we don't realize is that they are also agents of the supreme being, because without his instruction we would not have gotten our parents, they would not have cared for us, they wouldn't, and we wouldn't be able to care for them, and vice versa. So everything is and only we cannot see the big picture, because like how our senses are and our mind is limited, but only the supreme being can see that how we might think we are somebody's shelter, but might be the opposite is true, that somebody else's, that the person whom we are giving the shelter is actually our shelter. So only the supreme being sees every one of them as the shelter, and he is independent of all, and he is the supreme shelter. That is the very beautiful and very nice concept that we should always remain aware of. That who thinks that well, sometimes we think, oh, I helped this person, or I was helped by this person, but it is ultimately God who has seen our many lives and who knows who is helping through. If we are thinking we are helping somebody, who knows how many times that other person and how many great ways that other person might have helped us, and how we are just acting as an agent. God is just trying to make us an agent so that we can repay some of his, not repay, but we can like just be of service to the other soul in some ways. So that is why it is like later said in the verse that how like he is the one who has seen our many previous births when we don't even remember what happened in this life and who did what for us and we did what for other person, but only he can remember the millions of lifetimes that we had, not in relation to other people but also in relation to him. So so it is a very beautiful concept of like that we should remember that ultimately every thing rests on him, and he is the ultimate shelter of even the people whom we think of. Like sometimes I think that what will happen to my daughter, but ultimately God is the shelter, her shelter, and like she might be my shelter instead of like me being her shelter. So like he is the only one who sees our many lifetimes and who is the ultimate shelter of everybody, and who can also see the ultimate sheltering relationship, which we might think to, which might be very confusing to us. So I'll read the verse that there are innumerable living entities, one dependent on the other in the relationship of the controlled and the controller. But without the medium of perception, no one can know or understand who is the controlled and who is the controller. For example, the sun controls the power of our vision. We can see the sun because the sun has a body, and the sunlight is useful only because we have eyes. Without our having eyes, the sunlight is useless. And without sunlight, the eyes are useless. So it is the same concept that we we do, without the medium of perception, no one can understand who is the controlled and who is the controller. Like who knows, like who is ultimately being controlled by what. So thus they are interdependent and none of them is independent. Like how sometimes a few people used to ask me, like, why should we pay taxes when we are the one who is working? But then then one realizes as one Rose up that we are like today a product of the whole society, of the whole environment that we are growing in, and like we are living in. I'm sorry. And so the interdependence is so much that we cannot like not overlook it for a moment, because if we cannot like correct and forgive the mistakes of people that we come and encounter with, then then we cannot even think about like doing anything for the society, because at least people who come into our lives are sent directly by God to teach us or being taught a lesson. So like I was just trying to explain the law of interdependence, that when we live in a society, we have to give every moment in order to receive something. So that is how um, the law of interdependence works. But the next thing is that the natural question arises concerning who made them interdependent. The one who has made such a relationship of interdependence must be ultimately completely independent. So it is strange how sometimes when I think I get a verse to read in Bhagavatam, like it's literally that God is speaking to me, because just in the morning I hardly ever hear Prabhupada's lectures, but I was on Facebook today, and the one lecture that seems to keep coming is when he is saying, Prabhupada is saying that because I have not seen many lectures in which he is crying, but in that lecture he is saying that what can we give Krishna? We are really not capable of giving anything to him, because we are so useless and so futile, and so like we are so worthless. But whatever we offer out of love, he will accept. So and he is crying that what we can offer, because he doesn't need anything, and he has given us so much that we can just only we cannot be like, it is beyond our imagination and comprehension how much he has just given, and we never give anything to him in return, and we are not capable of giving anything to him in return. So that was one of the things we were saying when the deities forgot the name, he was feeding his deities, and so the deity said that you just feed me dried chapati and salt, and why don't you get me something? And he says, well, I have no recourse to getting anything, so you just eat it. So then the deity had to just be eating the chapati, but he did not refuse it. Out of love, he would eat the dried chapatis too. So that is how like great Krishna's mercy is, that in spite of everything, like how many like things we might have done against him, which like if even 1/10 or 100th or 1/1,000,000th of that, if another person does to us, then we are infuriated. But like he has borne so much from us, and if we give him little bit of love, he would reciprocate so much. So or like that is why it is like it is written here that the ultimate source of all interdependent objects is the complete independent subject. Like he is completely independent. He has made us interdependent, so that I think, according to me, so that we realize to some extent that how much he loves us, and that we realize only through other people. And that's why I always say that like other people are also representatives of God trying to teach us something. So and we cannot be separated from them, no matter how much fallen we are or how much fallen others are. We cannot separate them and separate God, because everything is interdependent, and that interdependence comes from God himself. So the ultimate source of all interdependence is the supreme truth, or Paramatma, the super soul, who is not dependent on anything else. He is Swa Ashraya Ashraya. He is the shelter of the shelter. He is only dependent on his self, and thus he is the supreme shelter of everything. Although Paramatma and Brahman are subordinate to Bhagwan, because Bhagwan is Purushottam, or the super person. So Paramatma, like what we call the localized the God in the heart, and Brahman, the effluent Jyoti, they are subordinate to Bhagwan, who is like the embodiment of who is in an embodied form. He is the Purushottam, or the super person. So so he is not dependent on anything that we do or not do, because but he if he just like he would like, so it is in it is our for our own benefit that we love him and realize how much he loves us. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that he is the Purushottam and the source of everything, and thus it is concluded that Sri Krishna is the ultimate source and shelter of all entities, including the super soul and the supreme Brahman. Even accepting that there is no difference between the super soul and the individual soul is dependent on the super soul for being liberated from the illusion of material energy. So like how many people say, Mayavadis or whatever we might call them, that there is no difference between the super soul and the individual soul because we have the same essential quality. The individual soul is dependent on the super soul for being liberated from the illusion of material energy. However, only the super soul can liberate us from the illusion that of material energy that we are placed for some reason because of our sins, and because we did not acknowledge and accept the love of God. We were born so that through our ignorance, at least we can learn how much God loves us. And so we are, for even learning those lessons, for even realizing how much or reaching that true love of God, even for that we need his mercy. Without his mercy, we cannot even be liberated from the illusion of material energy, or from from the material energy, which is also trying to teach us these lessons of nature. For that also we need the mercy of the Lord. And the individual is under the clutches of illusory energy, and therefore, although qualitatively one with the super soul, he is under the illusion of identifying himself with matter. So although we have the same essential characteristics as the source, as our source, like we come from God, but we are still identifying ourselves with this body, with like the wants and desires of this body, with the attachments of this body and with the needs of this body. We are always identifying. And to get out of this illusory conception of actual life, the individual soul has to depend on the super soul to be recognized as one with him. In that sense, also the super soul is the supreme shelter. So, like, even for that, even for recognizing that how much we are like loved by God, and to learn our lessons, or to free ourselves from this illusory concept of Maya, which is very, very it is like a very sweet snare. And so, like, how I realized, like, sometimes I was in the for some time I was in the hospital, and so after a little while, not now but earlier, I started to even like that life, that okay, what is wrong with this life? But then I later realized that a person, whatever circumstances they are placed in, they start like getting used to it. Like how there was a movie, I don't know if anybody has seen that, Shawshank Redemption. So in that movie, there was this person who was placed in, I think that's not relevant, so I state another. There's like many instances like where people are placed in jail, or like places where they can suffer to realize or come to terms with their sins and try to be a better person. And then they instead of learning the lessons, they start getting attached. Instead of being detached from the illusory energy, they start getting attached to those particular sets of circumstances. Wherever we are placed, a person develops comfort zone over there, and they start becoming more and more attached to those particular circumstances. So they don't want to get out of the jail after they are placed there for a long time. So similarly is our position, that we are in this material miserable world to develop detachment from it, so that we realize that this is all temporary, and the only true permanent thing is the abode of God, which is going to be the only permanent place. Otherwise, all these different places where we are promoted to after doing good deeds, they are also temporary, but only the permanent place uh, is to be with God, and that is our supreme shelter. But then instead of getting detached and realizing the misery of this miserable world, one gets more and more attached to this world. So it is a very sweet snare. And so the individual is always dependent on the super soul, because the individual soul forgets his spiritual identity, whereas the super soul does not forget his transcendental position. But God, we always say that, okay, no matter how much sinful you will become, you cannot, there is no like sin that God will not forgive, because he, no matter how much we forget our spiritual identity, he will not forget his transcendental position, and he will keep trying to take us out and lift us up in his divine mercy to get us out of this illusory energy and get us back with him. So in the Bhagavad Gita, these separate positions of the Jivatma and the Paramatma are specially mentioned. In the fourth chapter, Arjun, the Jiva soul, is represented as forgetful of his many previous births, but the Lord, the super soul, is not forgetful. So like how sometimes we equate Krishna, like how symbolically they say that Arjun is symbolically the Jiva soul. And so he asks the question to Krishna that how come like you are so much younger than this person, and how come you are saying that you have known this, and how come you are saying that So he says that so then Krishna says that I remember all those words, but you don't. So that is why the Lord even remembers when he taught the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god some billions of years before. The Lord can remember such millions and billions of years as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord in his eternal blissful body of knowledge is fully aware of all that happened in the past, that which is going on at the present, and also what will happen in the future. But in spite of his being the shelter of both the Paramatma and Brahman, persons with a poor fund of knowledge are unable to understand him as he is. So sometimes, like me, like sometimes all other people, so we have this doubt, okay, why is this happening? Why did this happen to me? And why is, if God knows this is going to happen to me in the future, why doesn't he fix it? Well, why doesn't he just call everybody to his divine plan right now? And why do we have to learn all these lessons? And so all these doubts and questions keep going on in the mind. But we do not understand his divine mercy. Like he still, like we read before, he will still listen to our minutest desire, and because he loves us so much, like how Premrasa was saying in the previous class, that how even like how small and insignificant we are, but he is always thinking about our desires still, in spite of like that he is the biggest father of all the living entities. So a father will always, no matter what, he knows that this is not good for us and that is not good for us. But if it is our desire, ultimately he'll say, okay, fine, if you desire it so much, you can take it, you can have it. And he will not still loving us, although our desires might be very evil and might hurt him in some ways. But he will still always love us. So it is very, very difficult to understand his greatness. The propaganda of the identity of cosmic consciousness with the consciousness of the individual living entities is completely misleading, because even such a person or individual soul as Arjun could not remember his past, although he is always with the Lord. So, like people say in many books and others I've read, how you can become one with the cosmic consciousness, and how we can be one with the universe and in harmony, and then we can communicate with the supreme consciousness. But this is misleading according to Prabhupada, because he says even Arjun, who was like always with the Lord when he gave the Bhagavad Gita, and how like Krishna himself says that he was his friend from many previous births, and still he could not understand partly or even fully what the divine will is, and who he is, and what is his relationship to Krishna, and what is the right thing to do and what is the wrong thing to do. Even though and then Krishna had to show his divine form, and literally like show him that what other proof do you need? Look, here I am in front of you, and speaking directly to his soul, where his soul could understand that, look, this is the divine truth, which is like, which leaves no room for doubt. Then it is very difficult for people like us to understand or be in tandem with the supreme consciousness, because we are not that qualified, and we are so sinful, because at least for me, I feel that I have rebelled in so many ways against the divine will. So so like he was always ready to do the divine will of the Lord, ready to kill his own relatives, whom he and his own guru and everybody. And like one small thing that like I feel that God wants me to do this, I am not able to do it. So like so we are not even qualified. So it is totally wrong according to Prabhupada that say that we can be in tandem with the Supreme Cosmic Consciousness, because we are so small and unqualified, according to Prabhupada, that we cannot be in. We are only dependent on His mercy, and that's all. And what can the tiny ordinary man, falsely claiming to be one with the cosmic consciousness, know about his past, present, and future? So that is what he's saying now, that like what can we, who are not even like, who are actually like, we are actually so sinful that we have been rebelling against the divine wish for so long. We cannot falsely claim to be one with the cosmic consciousness, and we cannot like know about his we cannot know about what we were in the past or in the present, who we are. We cannot also know, and in the future definitely, like what will happen is totally beyond us, because he is a living God and he can change anything. So it is totally beyond us to be like understanding anything, but we can only and only do what we can only and only do, I guess, is to just ask for His divine mercy and be humble. After reading so many excerpts on the Bhagavad, we realize the very smallness of our being and realize how small we are, and take to His shelter and try to submit to His will. So that was the summary. We have done in this. So if anybody has to share anything or say anything or like ask any questions or any mistakes I made in explaining, kindly tell me. I couldn't really prepare because I didn't know today is going to be my class, because Ramanji just told me 5 minutes ago. So anyways, I tried to do my best.
Thank you so much, Ruchi Mataji. It was such a beautiful class. Thank you so much.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to serve.
Could I
Thank you.
Okay. This is Linda. Can I intersect a moment? Could you pray real hard for me? I live with my son. He's a meat eater. My daughter-in-law, they're meat eaters, and right now they're cooking meat, and I smell the aroma and the fat and the grease from it. And it's making my stomach sick to smell that stuff. It's so horrible.
Sorry, go ahead.
Please pray that that Krishna, comes into their lives and shows them that it's best to be a vegetarian and to quit all this nonsense of gratifying the senses with such horrible products.
Well, like earlier, I would have said a lot of things, but now after reading this verse, I somehow think that like many things in the life, like what we read, the past, present, and future, many things we cannot change. Many things are there which we cannot change, even though we know it's wrong or it's like happening. But we have very limited capacity, so we cannot change. But like what we read from the last verse is that we can only change the desire, and if we have the desire and we pray to God that God please help me and help other people in trying to get over this proclivity of the senses to like eat, then surely because God always is, and He does the right thing at the right time. Although, like we just said, we do not understand why certain things are happening. So I think the best thing is to just remember God in all circumstances, Krishna in all circumstances, and just pray to Him to like make because He only knows what is best for us at a particular time. So who knows His reasons why this is happening? Like we just read, we do not understand many things, but to just pray that His will be done, and that He finds a way to like, because who knows what is right and what is wrong in this way. Of course, everything is wrong, like it is against within the scriptures, but who knows like what karma is coming from past, from so many births. So only we can pray, I think, and instead of like trying to change it immediately, praying is very powerful. So that is that right. What you said is we can just pray that He has His mercy on whoever, in whatever way He is giving the mercy.
Right.
Manasi Ganga Mataji, are you not inspired to share your story? Manasi Ganga Mataji. Perhaps she's not on the call. But Linda Mataji, I just want to tell you that, you know, if Krishna ever gives you the opportunity to cook for them and feed them some prasadam, it really will change the person's consciousness, and they become very, very favorable to Krishna. Prasadam is so important. It brings so much mercy.
Oh, I know. I know. I read my prayers every morning before I take food. And they see that. They see that I read my prayers before I take food, and I think so impressed. You know, like wow. You know, she's very diligent. You know, and so possibly, hopefully you're right. Hopefully, you know, they come.
Do you offer your food, or you say just the prasadam prayers?
Oh no, I offer the food.
Yeah. Do they sometimes take the food that you cook?
Do they taste it?
Do they eat it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing that we can do for someone. And like Manasi Ganga Mataji's daughters, she became vegetarian recently. She doesn't want to eat meat any longer because Manasi Ganga Mataji, for however long, she has been cooking and giving prasadam to her daughters. So now she doesn't. She Manasi Ganga Mataji didn't ask her to become a vegetarian, but on her own she said that she no longer wants to eat meat.
So there is a lot of power in prasadam. I mean, you need to pray, of course, but prasadam itself is Krishna, and so the last 2 years I've been feeding her prasadam, and she just came up to me one day and said, "I don't want to eat meat anymore," and I mean, she is sticking to that too. So even, you know, it's very powerful. Yeah, so just you need to make sure that you're cooking food that Krishna will eat, and if you have a little altar or a picture of either your guru, yeah. And do you know the prayers, or would you like me to send them? You do? Okay.
Oh no, I do. I have a Simply Vegetarian by one of the authors of Christian Conscience. I don't know what his name is right now. It's downstairs, but he's got all the prayers in the back of the book.
Is it the one Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutava? That one? There's like 4 verses.
Right.
Verses.
Right.
Okay.
And recite them 3 times each.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So, and patience. That's what you need, is patience as well.
Oh, I love Sanskrit. They could ask me to say it 100 times, and I wouldn't mind that.
So, Ruchi Mataji, thank you very much for a very beautiful class. It was so nice, really. It was so nice that I was able to hear you nicely. This is one of the first times that I wasn't having problems hearing you, and it was very nice to hear what you had to say. And so I know that you had said a few times that we're not qualified to serve the Lord. And no, we are not qualified to serve the Lord. But I was just thinking of, and I had mentioned this in a class a couple months ago or a month ago or something, a story by Nandana Maharaj. And it was about how Jagannath in the altar was being served very, very nicely by Brahmins and, lavish bhoga and this and that. And then down the road was a very poor old lady. And this old lady, every morning she'd wake up and all she had was dal and rice. And so she didn't even take a shower, and she was wearing clothes that she had slept in. And she prepared dal and rice for Jagannath. And she was not qualified at all. I mean, not at all. I mean, the food was, very low quality, and even her kitchen and this and that was not, clean, extremely clean, etc. But she offered it with love, and so Jagannath, even before he was fed by the Brahmins, from at the temple, very lavish preparation, he would get up and he would come to this old Mataji's house and be served by her. And he accepted it so very nicely because she gave with love. So, whatever we have, if we serve the Lord with love, if we're serving Him, with deep emotion and with a desire to please Him, He will accept it. And the story goes on, and I'm not going to go further with that story. But so, what makes qualification to serve the Lord? It's the love, Yes. Yeah. It's not the preparation. It's not like all that cleanliness, although we want to come to that standard and do all those things. But he accepted just as well with, without all those different, things. So I'm just thinking that, no, we're not qualified, but the Lord is merciful. And if we do our japa with love, if we serve him, boga with love, if we do service, distribute books, whatever it is with love, he will accept it. I'm thinking also of Prabhupada, how I heard a pastime where one day he prepared class and was sitting there, and no one showed up. Not one person showed up. And he just continued, and he gave the class, just to the four walls. He gave the class because he wanted to serve, and it was with love. It was not the result that's the important thing. The important thing is the service and the service attitude and the love with one serves. So I don't know. Thank you again for your very nice class. What you had said just reminded me of those two stories. Yes, Shanti, that was very important, because my grandmother, when I was small, sometimes she used to tell me to offer bhoga to Laddu Gopal. We had a Gopal, like baby Krishna, and so she used to tell me. She used to talk very little, but she told me one or two times that don't think that God needs anything from you. All He is looking for is love and some emotions. That's all He is. That's all He needs. He really doesn't need anything from us. And I just remembered what is written in the Bible. I don't remember it exactly, but it's written, even if you sacrifice your whole body in the as a sacrifice in the fire or something, or if you do this or do that, but nothing would matter to God if there is no love in your heart. If there is no love, then all of this wouldn't really matter. What we are doing as physical service or mental service, until and unless we actually develop that love of God, then actually all the other things are totally of course they will serve in the end to develop love, how I have seen how sometimes you do the right thing just because it has to be done, how it is written in the scriptures. You should do this, and many times when we are small, we feel, okay, why do we have to study? Why do we have to get up in the morning? Why not lie? Why do this? Why so many rules and regulations? That why be clean? Why take a shower in the morning? But then slowly, when one is constantly doing it, then one many times we read something and we don't understand it. But after many times, when we are experiencing something suddenly, how God will make us realize, oh, this is the meaning of the lesson that we learned in algebra, or this is what it meant. Suddenly it will come in a flash. Similarly, how if one keeps doing a certain thing, then we cannot say that that's why devotional service is totally this, because once we are doing that, then slowly love will also develop, and to different degrees that one person is closer to God. But how that is why it is very potent, I think, and that's why when we are doing the right thing, what is written in scripture, slowly then the right habits will actually make our right destiny and our character, because we are doing that. So it is not totally useless, but it is nothing without love. That is the most important aspect, and not without emotions. If we are just doing it as a thing, that is also counted. Yeah. Yes, that is the essence. Thanks for sharing that. That is a very important thing which we all must remember. Yeah.
Namaste, Ganga Mataji.
Yes?
So Mataji, I noticed that tomorrow is my class, my turn. But I was thinking since a long time we have not heard many devotees speak. It has just been like one or two devotees whose names are rotating on this schedule. So it would be very nice if someone else can speak, like maybe yourself. We have not heard from you in a long time.
I have my break coming up, so I have not put my name on it because I'm always driving, like, at this time. So I have to, like, arrange with my daughter and pick her up late, or she has to leave her work early, or I'm in transit. So I'm going to put myself on the schedule next week when I have off, or the week, for this vacation. So who else am I missing? I'm trying to I know Shraddha is, I believe, still out of town. Shastakam, recently she told me that she's not necessarily available all the time, so I kind of am pulling back from putting her on. I'm trying to get most people on. I try to, I look at last week's and then but who am I? Could you let me know?
I mean, I can still read tomorrow, but I was thinking it would be nice because every devotee is unique and they have something unique to contribute. So instead of me speaking 2 days in a week, it would be nice if
okay.
I can hear from others.
Okay, so who else is there anybody here that would be able to give a class tomorrow?
I think Shanti Mataji has not given a class in a long time.
I don't think she typically doesn't. She'll read, but Shanti, are you on? If you're on, would you be able to? Are you on the phone call? I don't know that she is. I can text her to see if she's available, but
I don't have a problem, but I feel like Ruchi Mataji gave such a devotional class. I tend to make things so technical, like I have to explain who is Mahavishnu, who is Garbhodakshay Vishnu, who is Shirodakshay Vishnu. I make things technical. So
Mataji, we have missed hearing your classes, so yeah, I probably have been putting you on one every week since you've come back because we really miss hearing from you. I mean, yeah, I kind of felt, at least for me, I kind of felt like something was missing when, for all those months. Like, I can't wait till Leela Manjari returns. But if someone, who else is able to, we can ask Shanti. I can text her.
How about Linda Mataji? Linda Mataji, would you like to read and speak? Yeah, it's way after the class, so maybe everybody dropped out. So that's fine. So tomorrow, to fulfill your desires, Mansi Ganga Mataji, I will compensate for all the months that I was not here.
And Mataji, I have to say that from 21st to 30th, I will not be available because I'm going to Colombia. So yes, Mataji, thank you.
Could you text me that so that otherwise I'll just forget about it. If you text it to me, then I'll write it down and try not to put you on. And so, so I was not sure if Linda or Ruchali would be receptive to putting them on the schedule. I've been thinking about it. I guess I'll just start putting.
You can talk to them, Mataji.
Yeah, I'll ask them individually. I think I have phone numbers and okay, that works because it is.
Mataji, should we end the class here? Are you satisfied? We are very satisfied. What a beautiful class.
Yeah, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Time with all Krishna trying to instill some
shouldn't be, because he's been trying too hard and I'm such a difficult person that he has to try very hard.
Okay, Mataji. So we'll end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
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 Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Jai.